Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So lately I've been thinking of what other ideas do I have for video where I can discuss either movies or music or something like that. And some recent subscriber to my channel, pardon my cough, had said she wants to see a video on possible recommendations, ideas for what to watch. So this is the video where I discuss 10 movies that I recommend. These are movies that are not part of my DVD collection. I don't have it on DVD or VHS, but nonetheless, these are movies that I do enjoy watching even to this day. And in fact, I lately have kind of a habit of watching some clips, some scenes from these movies. It's something I really like to do. So I'm going to flip over the card and show you the 10 movies that I have on this list that I recommend. So let's flip the card. There it is. So this is the list. You can take a screenshot if you like. I like these movies to varying degrees. So I'll just briefly go over each one. And they range, as you can see, from, mid 80s to about 10 years ago or so. So first one on the list is Amadeus. It came out in 1984. This, I believe, won the Oscar for Best Film. This was starring... Let's see, F. Murray Abraham played Salieri, who was the guy who was a composer who was jealous of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. I'm trying to remember the guy who played Mozart, Tom Hulce. I really like this movie. I like the scenes in particular where, Salieri is meeting with Mozart, or he's meeting with the King of Austria, I believe Emperor Joseph or Leopold or something like that. A lot of interesting scenes. One in particular where Mozart is going to meet with the king. Salieri wrote a small piece, a welcome march in his honor, and the king likes it and plays it for Mozart. And then Mozart is like, oh, I memorized that after only one or two hearings. And the king says, well, yeah, well, show us. And so Mozart's on the piano and he plays Salieri's piece, and then he embellishes it, he improves it, he does on the spot, does different things to this. And it's like, well, what do you think? Is that better? And then it's almost like you can see the glaring difference in talent. And Salieri is he's fuming about, how good Mozart is, and eventually drives him to try to have Mozart die. It's a really well done film. I really like it. Let's go to the second one. Aliens. This was made in 1986. The original Alien movie, 1979, was really good, which of course had Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, who was the last survivor on her ship after defeating the alien. And this time it's, set many, many years in the future after that. And, she is experienced a long sleep where she was out for decades and needs to catch up on everything. And meanwhile, the company that she worked for is trying to get her to come back and deal with some more aliens. By working with a group of grunts, Marines, including Bill Paxton, who plays Hudson, and these others who are on a mission to defeat these aliens. But, she tells them it's not going to be easy. These aliens are really tough. Along the way, they meet a little girl named Newt who survived somehow by not getting caught by these aliens. And so they are just, fighting these aliens. It's action-packed. James Cameron did not direct the first one, but he directed the second one. And it did a good job of, continuing on what the first movie was doing. I think one of the more interesting scenes is when, in Aliens, the Marines start flipping out once they realize what they've gotten themselves into, and especially Hudson, who's always freaking out. He's like, "It's game over, man. It's game over." And Sigourney Weaver, as Ripley, is telling him, will you stop it? Calm down. This little girl survived. It's like, oh yeah, put her in charge. It's like a really interesting scene where they're trying to just keep it together and focus on the task of killing these aliens. And meanwhile, the guy who represents the corporation, I think Paul Reiser's the actor. He basically stabs all of them in the back by, really, it's about bringing the alien home, and the crew members are expendable. It's a really good movie. Third on the list, A Bronx Tale. This came out in 1993. This was a story about a young Italian boy. I think his name was Calieri or something like that. And everyone calls him C. His father is played by Robert De Niro. He does a really good job as a protective father who doesn't want to see his son get caught up in gangs, but C becomes a friend with a mob boss who goes by the name of Sonny, who sort of takes him under his wing, and tries to teach him things and also keep him out of trouble at the same time. This is a really good acting in this film. One of the best scenes is when, this mob boss, Sonny, he runs a bar, and these Hell's Angels, these bikers, they roll into town, and they go inside the bar. They're like, "Hey, we don't want no trouble. We just want to drink." And the mob boss says, "Okay." So these bikers, they take a drink, and then they start acting up. They're throwing bottles, they're yelling and screaming like, "Yeah, what are you going to do about it?" And then Sonny, the mob boss, he closes the door of this bar and looks right at the bikers and says, "Now you can't leave." And these bikers are now really scared. And then this whole brawl happens between these bikers and Sonny and his crew. And it's a very interesting movie. Casino, that came out in 1995. That was directed by Martin Scorsese. It's not as good as Goodfellas, because I know a lot of people compare Casino to Goodfellas because, Casino stars Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci and, some of the other people from Goodfellas. But it's still a really good film. It's about Las Vegas, and De Niro plays a guy named Ace who, runs a casino, and Pesci plays, I think, a character named Nicky, who is like an enforcer, a guy who, is like his hired muscle. It also has a lot of good scenes about, about Vegas, about, the gambling and, the card tables and things like that. And one scene in particular where, Robert De Niro as Ace is explaining about cheaters, about how they look for a weak dealer. They try, checking to see what the dealer has, and then like secretly messages to their friend, whether they should bet or not. And, this is how they take advantage of the casino. And if they're caught, one guy was caught, he gets tasered and dragged to a room where, I think the hired security says, which hand do you use to deal with? And it's like, my right hand. So they smash his right hand with a hammer, and it's like, now you got to use your left hand. Really good movie. Again, not as good as Goodfellas, but I think Casino deserves praise in its own right. Good Will Hunting. That came out in 1997. It stars Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, who supposedly wrote the script for it, and they won the Oscar for writing the script. I don't think they wrote the script. I think they hired someone, they paid someone a lot of money to write the script for them. And so, paying them extra just so those two guys could take the credit for it. But anyway, it's still a well written, well done movie. Again, it stars Matt Damon as sort of like a savant. Like, he's a guy who, even though he's working class Boston, he somehow is a mathematical genius. And Ben Affleck is his friend, who works at the same, I think, construction job that they both work. Robin Williams won an Oscar for this movie. He played a psychiatrist, who meets with Matt Damon's character and tries to help him. And there was this one scene in particular where, Robin Williams and Matt Damon's at a lake, and Robin Williams is explaining to Matt Damon about his life and explain why he wants to take him on and, work with him to help him. And there's another scene where Robin Williams explained to Matt Damon, like, he was at the World Series in 1975, I believe. That was Red Sox versus Reds, where he's at Fenway Park, and he's he was there to see the Game 6 famous home run, but he missed it because instead he met with a woman. And Matt Damon's like, why'd you do that? Why'd you skip that famous game for a woman? And I think his answer was like, because I knew she was the one. It's a really good movie. Okay, this fifth one is sort of a, a hesitant recommend. The Fifth Element. It's an odd movie. I mean, I find it enjoyable, I guess, on the level that it's just, it's a silly good time. Just don't take it too seriously, and it's fine. It's a fun movie. It stars Bruce Willis as an ex-cop and now cab driver on in the future, where cars are flying through space, and he has to save this woman who was, I guess, just created from aliens, and she is the fifth element. I can't remember the name of the actress who played her, but he has to protect her. He wins, quote unquote, in a rigged contest where he goes to a cruise, like Future's version of a cruise, and he meets with Chris Tucker as like a DJ or something like that. And so he's supposed to be on like this party cruise, but it turns violent because of people going after the Fifth Element, and Bruce Willis has to again protect her, and she can also fight on her own. She's like this perfect being. I don't know, how much should I give away of this one? It's a silly time at the movies, but I like it. It's may not be for everyone, but I don't know, give it a try. Okay, this one, No Country for Old Men, came out in 2007. It won the Oscar for Best Picture. I was upset about that at the time because I felt another movie should have won instead, There Will Be Blood. So for a long time, I didn't give this movie a real shot. But over time, I kind of warmed to it. It was directed by the Coen brothers. It stars Josh Brolin as a man who is, who was retired, used to be a welder, but now he finds this briefcase full of money, and he is trying to protect it, but he realizes that someone's coming after him. Someone named Anton Chigurh, who's played by Javier Bardem. Bardem won the Oscar for this role. There are other actors in this also, including Woody Harrelson as a guy who is also, on the case where, he's trying to also get that briefcase full of money. There's one scene in particular that's famous where Javier Bardem, Anton Chigurh, is at a gas station, and he goes to the man behind the counter, says, I'm here to pay for the gas and everything else. And the guy asks him, where'd you come from? Did you arrive from Dallas? And it turns into like this argument, like it escalates, where now Anton Chigurh is questioning the life of the man behind the counter, where he's like, what do? You inherited this gas station, you didn't earn it, and calls him friendo. What was it? Yeah, he's like, where'd you come from? He's like, what business of yours, friendo? And then he flips a coin, and I guess flips a coin for the guy behind the counter to decide whether or not he lives or dies. I guess he guessed it right and was allowed to live, but it was just a really awkward and difficult scene to sit through. But it was classic. This movie is a classic. I've warmed to it more in recent years. The King's Speech, that came out in 2010. I think that won the Oscar for Best Picture that year. This is a movie that starred Colin Firth as who would be King George IV, I think. Anyway, it's the one who was king, who became king when his father died, and this was right before World War II. So it started with his father dying. His older brother, King Edward, was king, but that didn't last because he married an American woman, and therefore he abdicated his throne. Now King George, became king. And this is an issue because he has a stuttering problem. He stutters, and so he tries to work with an Australian man who goes by Lionel. He was played by Geoffrey Rush, if I got that name right, where, this man tries to help the king with his stuttering. So that by the climax, the King's Speech is, about Britain going to war with Germany. This is a really well done film. I really liked it. I thought both actors, Colin Firth and Geoffrey Rush, were excellent. Also, Helena Bonham Carter played the Queen, the wife of George. It's funny, I keep calling him King George, even though his real name is Albert. And it explains why he's not King Albert, but he was Prince Albert. Lionel insists, I'll call you Bertie. If we're going to work together, we need to be, on even terms and things like that. This is a really good movie. Okay, this one, Lincoln, came out in 2012. This one, I'm not sure if it won the Oscar for Best Picture, but I know that Daniel Day-Lewis won the Oscar for Best Actor as Lincoln. So he plays Abraham Lincoln. It takes place right at the end of the Civil War. He was elected to the second term, and he's trying to get the 13th Amendment passed. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution is the one that abolishes slavery. It wouldn't be easy. It would take, votes from the House of Representatives to pass it in Congress. Tommy Lee Jones plays he plays one of the members of Congress, Thaddeus Stevens, who tries to help Lincoln with his, quest to get slavery abolished. Sally Field plays Mary Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's wife. There were a lot of great actors. Even Adam Driver has a bit role in this film. There are a lot of good scenes where Lincoln talks with members of his cabinet. Has a discussion with Thaddeus Stevens about what they should do. This is a movie I enjoy watching. Steven Spielberg directed it. I think is very well done. Definitely recommend. Okay, last one on this list, The Big Short. This came out in 2015. This is a movie that was like an ensemble. It starred a lot of people. Stephen Carroll, is one of them. Ryan Gosling is another. Um, who else? Christian Bale is in it. Brad Pitt is in it, but he has a part role, like a bit role, like everyone else. It really has to do with the 2008 housing mortgage crisis in America, which tanked the United States economy, and the events that lead it up to it. It started with Christian Bale's character, who somehow discovers that there's a crisis on its way, and wants to short or bet against the housing market so that when it does crash, he collects a lot of money. Um, there are these other two young investors who also somehow discover this, and they get a character named by, played by Brad Pitt, to work with him, even though Brad Pitt's character hates Wall Street and doesn't want to get involved. But they said this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, so he does get involved. There's also Ryan Gosling's character, who somehow he gets wind of this mortgage crisis that's coming, and so then he gets Steve Carroll and his investment group involved. Just a lot of good scenes, a lot of great acting where they have conversations about whether to invest, why they shouldn't invest or bet against the housing market, and then when the market does crash, what's their reaction, what do they do. It's really interesting. I watched a lot of scenes from this movie. I think it's really good. So yeah, those are my 10 recommendations for movies. Maybe I'll do another one soon. I'm not sure, but we'll see if I have any more ideas in the near future. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Bye.